Hey guys, this is Gamers from Nowhere, and it is February 5th, and today I thought we'd sort of shift a bit. We don't. It turns out we do more than just play video games.
Oh, you don't say.
Insane, I know. I thought,
You would think that Gamers from Nowhere would only be gamers.
only gamers, nothing else. We don't eat, breathe, drink, sleep. It's just game all 24/7. No, but we want to talk about movies a little bit today. Specifically, Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is good, man. I love Star Wars.
Yeah. So, you saw The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
We saw it together, actually.
Yeah,
a few times.
I actually saw it 4 different times.
Well, I saw it 3 times. So, yeah.
What a crap movie. I mean, why do we waste our money to go see it that many times?
Dude, she's just a Mary Sue. No, that's fine. No, but honestly, what did you think? Like, what were your impressions? What did you think of the performances, the story?
I actually thought that this was probably the best movie of 2015. I was about to say 2016. I think it was probably the best movie of 2015. Which is saying something considering all the movies that we had come out this past year.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a new Avengers movie. We had Jurassic World come out. Hands down, I thought that Jurassic World was going to be best movie. And then, lo and behold, I forgot that Star Wars was coming out later this year. I thought it was coming out next year for some reason. Or this year now.
Right. Yeah. Like,
I feel like the story was really good. I know it was kind of mirroring episode 4 a little bit, but that's the way they wanted to do it. And so I think that they did a good interpretation of having similar events, but having its own story in itself.
I think so. Yeah, so the big criticism with this film is that it's decent, but that it's derivative of episode 4, which I understand, but at the same time, if they can do the same thing and still make it interesting, then who cares? Look like, I know we always use this as an example, but like, look at Pokemon. Like, every Pokemon game is pretty damn similar.
Yeah.
But you know what? Everyone is still interesting because it's just, the game is just good. You know,
it is, and
so that's how I feel
it's the same thing over and over, same concept, but different story arc.
Yeah.
As long as you can keep the audience entertained, that's all that matters. And it's not the highest grossing movie for just any plain old reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously was entertaining. I don't believe it was just the fan factor of, oh my god, it's Star Wars, let me go see it over and over. If that was the case, then every time that we had a prequel come out, that would have been the number one movie. Yeah. And that wasn't the case. Rightfully so, that wasn't the case, but you know, I thought that the character development, for us to not know who any of these characters are, except for your original people, for us not to know who any of these people are, but yet I loved almost every one of them, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, all the way down to Poe Davendry.
I kind of wish we saw more of Poe.
I do too. I kind of hope that like the next one kind of expands a little bit on him and Finn's relationship.
Right.
I think that's going to be a good, like, Han and Chewie relationship going on there. Only finally we'll be able to understand both of them.
Right.
I just hope that we don't end up getting a Star Wars holiday episode of them going to Stormtrooper World and having Life Day there.
BB-8 World, Life Day with BB-8.
Yeah.
God almighty.
BB-8 was...
BB-8 was the cutest thing.
I never thought that I would like a droid more than I liked R2-D2.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could say I like it more than R2-D2, but it's right there, equal to almost... BB-8 was... I liked it because it wasn't R2, but yet it was.
Yeah.
I loved the way that he moved around. I loved humanistic characteristics that it had.
Yeah.
Which also was what R2 had.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie, spoiler alert, not that big, but one of my favorite things is like when BB-8 and Finn are talking, and Finn's trying to get him to get BB-8 to do something for him, and BB-8 is like, okay, and then he gives him the thumbs up, but it's the little lighter that comes out.
Yeah. Everyone loved that. Yeah. See, the thing is, a lot of people say this movie is derivative of Episode 4, but in my opinion, and this might be a bit controversial, I think it actually surpasses Episode 4.
Wow.
I think it does everything Episode 4 does, and you might say that's a criticism, but I think it does it better. I think the dialogue is way better. I think the acting is better. I think...
Well, and there's no Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. It's just...
Well, and Jabba wasn't too bad, but like... I mean, come on. Jabba was pretty bad.
Jabba was dumb. I just thought the acting was a lot better. Like, no offense to Mark Hamill's original performance in the original movie. It was a little half-baked, I felt.
Well, you gotta think about... And this is an applaud to Daisy Ridley, who... This was her first movie that she actually ever did. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, I didn't.
This was actually the first movie that she ever auditioned for, and she got it. But like it just goes to show you, because Mark Hamill was young into his career too when he did the first Star Wars.
Yeah. And
so you can kind of like give him a little bit of leeway for it.
Right.
But I mean, just to see how much better she was in this than I don't know if it's the direction that J.J. Abrams had as opposed to George Lucas, because I mean, obviously after the director's cuts have come out, there's something wrong upstairs with George Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like, no offense, like, to George Lucas, you know, I'm happy he made this franchise, and I feel like he probably gets a little more criticism than he needs, but, man, I really don't think I think, it almost makes you wonder, like, why did the first two movies, well, episode 4 and 5, episode 4, 5, and 6, why were they so good? Because the prequels were just...
I think that... You gotta think of when they came out. When did the first one come out? Like 78?
78, yeah, I think so. Or 77, 78.
George Lucas probably was getting clean off of some stuff. And probably decided, you know what? This is not as good as I thought it looked. I need to go through and change it up. Which is why he did the director's cut. And then, you know, episodes 1, 2, and 3, in my opinion, they got better. Like, the more it got closer to the episode 4, it got better. Like, I think that episode 3 actually was on par with probably episode 6.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I think episode 6 was, if we were looking at the original trilogy, it was probably the most lacking.
So I think that episode 3 did very well. I could have done without episode 1. Yeah. In fact, I think I've only ever seen that maybe twice.
I think episode 1 is... I don't think episode 1... See, because I don't think episode 1 is like... I don't think it's a good movie at all. Like, I think it's a bad movie. I think it's a piece of crap.
I think it's got good characters. It has good characters. It had a good idea. Just bad direction with the way that everything went. Jar Jar Binks.
I mean, also just the dialogue. Like, it sounds like so plastic, and
it does.
I think that's part of the reason is because the Jedi are supposed to be sort of detached from the world, but at the same time, it's also just like, George, can you just liven this up a bit? Every single person's about politics or about
and I mean,
Jedi should not love, and all that sort of nonsense.
If you look at it, you have a young Ewan McGregor, you have Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman, Samuel L. Jackson. This movie should not have been boring. This movie should not have lacked in any way. Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson can make a bad movie good, and it just did not work.
No.
And what's funny is people criticize his character the most.
Qui-Gon. Yeah, and also, I feel like it, one of the big criticisms of episode 1, and I don't want to keep rehashing why we hate episode 1, because everyone already knows why episode 1 sucks.
It's beating a dead horse at this point. We know.
But I just think that, one of the worst things they ever did was the midichlorians, saying the Force is just a bunch of cells or whatever. It's like, really? When Yoda was talking about feeling the Force and picking up, the...
it made you feel like anybody can do it. Now no, you have to be born with it.
It's like, really? That's why this whole thing got started? Genetic predisposition.
Which, if you notice, they never bring up the midichlorians in episode 2 or 3.
God.
I think that George Lucas realized after the first one, he was like, you know what? That kind of took away from it a little bit.
Yeah. And, well, anyway, what else do I want to talk about?
I don't want to spoil anything because, I mean, by this point, people should have seen it. Again, it's not the highest grossed movie for any reason. And it's not just because you got people like you and me who went and saw it multiple times. A bunch of people went and saw this movie. So it should be pretty spoiler free by this point. But who do you think that Snoke is? I want to get your idea on who he is.
Okay. So Snoke, one of the big ideas, and I think it's the same one you have, is that Snoke is in actuality Darth Plagueis.
Yes. But I've heard many theories, but I think that's probably the best one.
I'm not sure if it's true. It's just, I don't know, because I feel like they definitely introduced this character to make us go, who is he? Because, like, where was this guy during the Galactic Empire? Because he looks old. He looks like one of those, like, you know, primordial ancient beings or some sort.
Well, and you have to realize that he wasn't around in the first, second, third movie. And that makes sense, because Palpatine says that if he is Darth Plagueis, probably I butchered the name, sorry. But if he is, Palpatine says that he killed him. So he should not be anywhere in consideration.
Right.
But you would think that his head would have reared at some point in 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Now, I get that they weren't made linear, but you would think that there would have been some form, because George Lucas had all 12 movies planned out.
Right.
So there would have been, and I know that J.J. Abrams kind of went and made it his own after George Lucas sold the rights to it, but you would think that there would have been some, like, hey, there's this other thing over here going on, but no, nothing was done with that. I'm just glad that it didn't end up being Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, Darth Jar Jar. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that would have been silly, but man, that would have been, no one would have seen that coming.
No,
absolutely no one. Like, even if that sounds stupid, you have to admit people would be like, "Wow."
I mean, I've heard theories for it, and they're great theories. I mean, when I first went and saw the movie the day it came out, I was like, "Oh, how cool would it actually be to see like Darth Jar Jar? Just to be like, you know, to make this character that is like so bad in the franchise, to make him actually kind of decent, you know, make him a decent character. It would change how we look at the very first episode.
It would change everything.
Yeah.
So that would actually be so interesting.
So I think that if they wanted to try to resurrect the first 3, make them better, they could have done it that way. But I'm glad that they didn't, because honestly, we just need to let Jar Jar die with the midichlorians.
Yeah. So I have one more theory question for you. Okay. So, Rey. Who are Rey's parents?
Oh, I've heard many theories on this one.
I'm just gonna say the boring answer, and the obvious answer I think is gonna be Luke Skywalker.
That's probably the one I see the most.
Here's how I plan it out. Right. Okay, so I think she was one of the potential Jedi that were going to be trained with Luke.
Mm-hmm.
However, Kylo Ren happened, and he was fearful for his daughter's life,
and so he
sent her away.
Okay.
Now, I don't know who Miss Skywalker is in this case.
I actually have heard a theory. This was one of the theories that I've heard on who it could possibly be. And it doesn't make sense, and the theory where I saw it didn't explain it. It just was like possible people for who could be Rey's parents. The mother was supposed to be... The father was, of course, Luke, and the mother supposedly was Phasma.
Phasma.
Again, I told you, it doesn't make sense as to why, but...
Okay. If there was a Jar Jar in this movie, it was Captain Phasma.
But Phasma had so much potential, and I think that they'll expand on her a little bit more in the later films.
I hope so. I really wish that, like, I just wish, how much better would that scene have been when they capture her if somehow she's, like, pulled out, like, a random pistol and, like, shot their, like, blaster rifle and started, like, fighting with all of them and started, like, knocking them out.
That would have been really, like, it would have been awesome to have a little firefight going right there in that little control room.
Right.
And she'd be the reason that it started.
Right.
Like, she opened the pod doors in order for the people to come in there to try to take over. That would have been cool. Instead, they were just like, "Oh, is there a garbage chute around here somewhere?"
yeah. Yeah, I felt like, and I was like, "Oh, I get it," because it's a reference to the
fourth one,
right, and that's cute. But that was like, that's one wink too many, I think.
I agree. But that's one theory that I've heard. Have you heard the Obi-Wan Kenobi theory?
No.
Apparently, people are believing that she is a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I don't know the full-fledged theory on this one either, but supposedly in the Clone Wars saga, the animated series.
Oh, yeah?
There is a scene where Obi-Wan Kenobi is talking to this woman, and she's like some high priestess lady, of high importance. And there's an emotional connection there that you see, which shouldn't be because, Jedi don't have emotions. They don't get attached. But he tells her, he's like, if I wasn't a Jedi, I would. Talking about, being with her, going with her wherever it was she was going. There's theories that once the Jedi were dispersed, once they were all killed away, that
he went and found her.
He somehow found her, and had a little...
Rey?
No.
Wait.
It's a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh. It's not necessarily his child. Because that would be as old as Luke is, or older.
Yeah.
But, no, they had a little Kenobi. And then that Kenobi, the kid of Obi-Wan Kenobi, had Rey.
Right. That's interesting.
But I just don't see the connection. I really don't.
I don't know. I feel like it's maybe they'll set. I feel like we just don't have enough chess pieces right now to figure this out. And I think it's not going to be until episode 2 that we can really put the pieces together.
One other theory that I heard, and I actually think this is a really cool theory. Don't think it's the right one, but it's a cool concept. Do you remember in the cantina when... And most of you are going to think, well, no, this was when she was talking to Finn. I'm not talking about when she's talking to Finn. What's her name? Saw the movie 4 times. You would think I would have known.
Oh! Is it the girl with the big glasses?
Yes.
Something with an M.
It was. Listeners, if you know this, you can scream it to us in the comment section below.
Please do. Please just in all caps lock that thing.
Please tell us how dumb we are for not knowing.
It's like Maskanai.
I think it was Maz.
Yeah, it's like Maz.
And if that is it, which I'm looking it up now to make sure. Yeah, it's Maz.
Okay.
I was thinking it was Maz, but I was like, no, it's got to be something more. Anyway, I know that Maz tells Finn that she's like, oh, I've seen the look in your eyes before, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about this scene. I'm talking about after Rey touches the lightsaber, and she's down there talking to Rey, saying that this was Luke Skywalker's and his father's before him's lightsaber, and now it calls to you. And she's like, you have to take it. She's like, I'm never going to take it again, blah, blah, blah. And she takes her glasses off. Right. She looks at Rey, and she says, I've seen those eyes. She's like, I lived so many years. You see eyes, and then you see them again in places you don't expect. The theory is, because of what she has said in this particular part, is that Rey is a clone.
Oh my god.
Rey is a clone of Luke Skywalker.
That is the most... Okay, if she's a clone, why does she look like him?
It's not necessarily that it's like the whole Boba Fett, we made a clone out of him. It's just an idea that maybe they were like Luke was experimenting in clones to try to help build up the Jedi, and so he was like, trying to find a way to do that, and failed in an attempt to make a clone, and it came out as Rey.
That'd be really interesting. That'd be really interesting. I wish that was the case, but I don't think it's going to be.
I don't think it is either, but that's a really cool idea.
That is a really cool idea. I'll admit that is awesome.
I think that's my favorite idea is that she could be a clone. There is no Mama Rey,
Right.
And then I've also heard the theory of, oh well, she's the sister of Anakin.
Don't even get started on that.
Well, half sister.
Oh.
Because this theory makes little to no sense, like most of them, but still, it is that when we first meet Anakin, it's his mother and him on this deserted island, or not island, but planet, this desert planet, not deserted. And where's the dad? There's no dad.
Right.
We never hear about dad. That's never really brought up, if I remember correctly. Dad is the Force, because the Force made Anakin, in a sense. The Force.
Yeah, I get it.
Because the Force is about balance.
Right.
And with the prophecy that Qui-Gon talks about, Anakin was supposed to be the one to bring balance to the Force.
Right.
So, Father is the Force. Well, now that all the Jedi are gone, of course, Luke was not brought on by the Force. He was brought on by the guy who was supposed to bring balance to the Force, and Padme. But now that Palpatine's gone, Darth Vader's gone, there's really nobody out there except for Snoke.
Right.
So now that Snoke has corrupted Kylo Ren and killed all the Jedi again except for Luke, the Force has intervened again in order to bring balance and has made Rey.
Wow.
So I highly doubt that's going to be the case, because I doubt that it would just be some random lady just had Rey and we're never going to know who any of her parents are. I highly doubt that, because that's what the theory is entailing, is that we will never find out who she actually is the child of. But I think it's fairly obvious that it's going to be Luke Skywalker and somebody.
Yeah, we don't know who yet.
Somebody said it was Maz. I don't see how that would work. You would think that if it was Maz, she would be like, "I'm your mother."
Yeah. Ew. I don't even think about that. Also, she'd probably look a lot different.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
What's your take on her being Han and Leia's kid?
Oh, and Kylo's sister?
Yeah.
I think Han would have said something.
I think so too. That's my thought. I think that Han would have said something.
And I don't think they would have kept building up that mystery just for it to be like, oh, it was him the whole time.
Right. I think they played on it too much with the fact that she was so much like him.
Yeah, and Kylo said that she saw him as a father figure.
Mm-hmm. My only thing with that is, like you said, why didn't he say something? And also, after he died, why didn't Leia say something?
Right, yeah.
I get that, Leia's upset, but you would think that Leia would just be like, instead of just saying, "May the Force be with you," she'd be like,
BT dubs.
I'm your mom.
Yeah.
Go find your uncle.
Alright. So, we've lavished this movie with a lot of praise. So, what if you had one criticism? What would it be?
I think they left a little bit too much unanswered.
I agree with that. I can agree with that.
I think that there was too many questions, which, again, we're going to have 2 more episodes of this to come out. Yeah. So you have to have some sort of mystery, but I feel like there was just too many loose ends that I'm afraid in later films will be forgotten about.
Right.
They might not be, but that's just with the movie of such grandeur as Star Wars, it's likely that things are going to be left out. Like, what caused Kylo Ren to turn to the dark side? Why does he still feel the pull from the light? This is the first time we've ever seen a Sith Lord, which, I mean, I don't really think he's a Sith Lord right now, but we've seen anybody that's been taken on by the dark side still feel a pull from the light.
Right. Because Darth Vader just did it.
He just was like,
that's gonna
I'm bad. Yeah. So I'm wondering that. What happened to C-3PO's arm?
It's such a weird question.
And I mean, like, he comes out of the pod, and he's just like, "Oh, Master Han, it's nice to see you. You probably don't recognize me because my arm is different." And it's like, okay, well, explain. Why is your arm different? Why was R2-D2 in sleep mode or whatever? Right. Did Luke do that? I mean, you see the scene where, like, he puts his hand on R2 and it looks like R2 kind of just powers down, but why did he do that?
Yeah.
Who's Rey's parents?
Yeah.
Who was Snoke? Those I can understand. You want to leave it till later, but there were just so many different questions that I had that I just wanted to have answered.
Right.
That didn't get brought back up.
Yeah, another one. So a lot of those questions I've heard are technically answered in like the new extended universe. So what they did was Star Wars has, or I suppose Disney in this case, has commissioned a guy to write a interim books. So, and this guy, he's writing books that go from the end of the Empire to the beginning of The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it basically explains, like, oh, what happened in that time. That should have been hinted at in the movie, though.
I agree.
That's my criticism. Like, how did Kylo Ren get Darth Vader's mask? What the hell? Mm-hmm. Didn't that burn?
I was about to say, wasn't it burning when they were on the planet with the Ewoks?
Yeah, that was like 30 years ago. Come on.
I highly doubt that he went to the planet of the Ewoks and went and dug it up.
Yeah. So questions like that, like, I'm sure you could probably look up online, but it's like, but when you see it, you can't help but be like, what the hell?
One question that I wish that well, let me get my thoughts together. It's not necessarily a question I had during watching the movie, but it's a question that was brought up that I thought was a great question to ask, but not necessarily something that they would present in the movie.
Right.
Why is Kylo Ren's lightsaber so funky?
Oh yeah, because it makes that weird sound, right?
It makes that weird sound. It looks unstable. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Like they put a thing out about it.
Yeah, I saw the thing where they showed what it compared like to a normal lightsaber. I didn't see their explanation though.
You know how a lightsaber is made? By the crystal.
Yeah, yeah.
His crystal is broken. His crystal is broken, which is why the light looks like it's about to explode. And it's also why he's got the two parts on the side. Okay. Is because when it's coming out in all sorts of directions. And if he didn't, it would cause the hilt to break.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
It's a decent little thought, but why is it broken?
Yeah.
There's your question. Why is it broken then?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that he just went and it was like, oh, I'm gonna make a lightsaber now. I'll just use this broken one. I don't think that. This will look cool.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool way to look at it though, because he's like, he is broken. Because he's so torn between the two sides.
Right.
I wonder if he's gonna end up being the good guy, and Rey might turn out to be bad.
That'd be interesting.
It's complete 360, 180, whatever. Geometry, not my thing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know. But one thing I really don't know is, what is Finn's role? Is he going to be wielding a lightsaber too? Or are they going to be...
Finn's role just confuses me because,
this is why I like this movie. This is why I like this movie, because you talk about how derivative it is of Episode 4, but by the end of that movie, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, they presented Finn like he was going to be the next Jedi in all the previews and stuff.
Right.
But then you find out that, what you knew he was a stormtrooper, but it was just like, oh, cool, stormtrooper's going to become a Jedi kind of thing. No, he's just a regular old Joe. I mean, he's nobody. But he's obviously got something.
Right.
But he has no, other than his stand-up self, he brings nothing to the table, in my opinion. It's not that he's a waste of a character. It's like he doesn't speak any language but English. Or humanoid.
Yeah, wherever they speak up there.
Yeah. he doesn't know how to fly a ship. He is okay to mediocre with weapons. Only thing he's good at, apparently, is sanitation and throwing people down a garbage chute.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And yelling a lot. Poe! Poe! Ray! Ray! We get it.
That is true. But I still found him to be a good comic relief almost, because I feel like almost maybe what Star Wars needed was an average Joe. I mean, look at the prequels. Everyone was
some sort of
super Jedi, Super Saiyan,
that,
Jedi,
or
prophecy,
high in the politics,
or like an important political person. They really didn't have a lot of average Joes in that movie at all.
Other than Jar Jar, but
no,
Jar Jar was not an average Joe. To call him an average Joe would be an insult to average Joes.
Yeah. So my other criticism of this movie is J.J. Abrams talked about when he was making this movie that there was going to be a big emphasis on practical effects, and there certainly was to an extent. Mm-hmm. But when you when they went to the cantina and you saw all the cool aliens, you could tell they were handmade, right? Like they were handcrafted. You're like, oh, this is awesome. And then you see Maz, and you're like, oh, there's the CGI.
Well,
she just stood out so it's like a sore thumb in that place.
She did, but at the same time, he did say that he wanted to have practical effects, but he also said that he wanted to emphasize some of the newer stuff that they didn't have back in the day to try to make it a little bit better. Not to say that he was going to make a handmade Jabba the Hutt and then just go over him in 3D to make him look more oozy. Yeah. That's not 3D and green screen effect, whatever. CGI. That's the word I'm looking for. Not like that. I think it was meant to be the best of both worlds done the correct way.
Right.
One thing I wish that we could have had was, with as many throwbacks as we had, one criticism I think out of the whole Star Wars universe is who shot first. I wish that
they would just settle it.
Well, no, I wish that they would have had a tongue-in-cheek, like, Han say something like, hey, I did shoot first, talking to Chewie at some point, or somebody else. Just bring it up. They did that for quite a few other things. That was the one thing I wish that they would have done.
I don't know if they want to step on George Lucas's toes that much.
No, but still, I think that's a huge thing, like I said, in the Star Wars community. Han shot first. That's obvious. Han shot first.
I think one thing that bothers people about it is, like, when you say that Han didn't shoot first, is you're saying that because Han's the kind of guy, at least back then, who would have shot first. He's like a rebel. He's an outlaw. He's a guy that does things on his own, whatever he wants to do. So he would shoot first. And that doesn't make him a bad. Well, I guess it kind of does, but it adds character.
Makes him his own. It makes him his own person.
Yeah, it makes him not Luke.
Exactly.
Well, we have been talking for quite a while.
I could go on longer, but I think that we'll kind of need to give it a rest here.
All right, guys. I guess we're going to be signing off here. Be sure to leave us a comment below.
Like and subscribe as well.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
It helps us out a lot more than you would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
From nowhere, we'll see y'all next time.
Later.